yourself a nice glass of wine. And then it hits you. I've got to do the grocery shopping. And the very last thing you want to do at that moment is get up and go to the grocery store. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was some way that from the comfort of your home, you could get your shopping done? And we're not talking about just going online and ordering your groceries to be picked up at a later date, but actually having the experience of going to the grocery store without ever walking out your front door. I think about if I was able to go to the grocery store from my living room with a glass of wine in my hand, and when I walk in, I'm the only person there, unless I invited my friends to come along with me. And as I walk through the store, it's in pristine condition, which is not necessarily what I'd expect to find at my local grocery store on a Sunday afternoon. And what if when I got back to the meat department, it somehow knew that I don't like fish, so it doesn't even bother showing me a seafood department. Instead, I see a larger meat offering. And furthermore, what if it knew that I like chicken more than I like red meat? So I see a larger chicken offering, and I get better pricing on that chicken than any other customer. And then what if everything could just be delivered to my front door? I'd never have to touch a thing. Wouldn't that be amazing? Well, today, we're here to tell you that this isn't just a dream. It's a reality, and it's one that's coming much quicker than you may think. So before we move any further, I'd like to introduce the rest of the team on stage. We have Anu Algan with Manzana Products, Jason Dobson with Pack and Save New Zealand, Alex Kesasoglu with Niagara Bottling, Inshira Marchand with Food for Less, myself, I'm Jacob Powers, I'm with Safeway's NorCal division, and we have Octavio Ruvalcaba with Stater Brothers. And together we are Team Innovation Nation. Now, before we move on, there's something that's not quite right with this slide. There we go. Now we're ready to head into virtual reality. So today, we're going to ask that you set aside $2.5 million to create a virtual presence for your store in the next 5 years. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to take you through how virtual reality can solve many of the issues that are facing our industry today. Things like a shift in center-of-store sales to online platforms, the need for convenience, and the desire for an experiential shopping trip. We're going to show you how virtual reality not only benefits our customers, but also the manufacturers and retailers as well. And finally, we're going to show you just how profitable this venture could be. Now, I've done a lot of talking about what this could look like, but why don't we have a look at what it does look like?
Oh yeah, I need to do the shopping.
Welcome, Ann. What do you need?
Hi, Super. I need some pasta. Let's see then. There it is. Whoops, I almost forgot. Lucy, who's gluten intolerant, is also going to be there tonight. Show me just the gluten-free products, please.
Ann, I have activated the gluten filter for this shelf.
Now I need snacks for my son.
Hey, Ann, you have almost reached the number of points necessary to claim the new prizes. I'll highlight the products that award more points.
Yes, Super, thank you. Look at these. So many points and great ratings. Nice, I'll take it.
Isn't it amazing what we just saw? Imagine bringing this type of convenience to your customers. The virtual reality shopping experience will give you the opportunity to connect with your customers on a whole new level like never before seen in our industry. This is a huge opportunity for our industry, especially for the first movers. Now, this may seem like a faraway dream, but in reality, it is here now. We believe that millennials and Generation Z will be the early adopters to this technology, just like they have been with other technology in the past. These two generations make up nearly 50% of today's population. According to a Nielsen study, 7 out of 10 people today are interested in virtual reality. And it is estimated that by the year 2021, shipments of virtual reality headsets will exceed 100 million units. Now, all this data makes it very clear that our customers are already migrating to this space, so it is our responsibility to offer the platform to capture this growing market. There are several other industries that are already recognizing the benefits of virtual reality. Industries such as healthcare, education, entertainment, tourism, real estate, among others. And one doesn't have to look very far to see some very large retailers already starting to use virtual reality as well. Last year, IKEA announced the release of a pilot virtual reality app. The Test app, which features a virtual reality kitchen experience, helps customers design remodeling projects in 3D space. The user can change the color and size of cabinets with a click. And walking through the virtual space can help the user by finding hidden dangers or possible design solutions. Similarly, Tesco unveiled a prototype of a virtual reality store in which customers can browse the 3D supermarket using their virtual reality glasses. Now currently, Tesco is using the store to help them merchandise shelves faster, reorganize store layouts, and improve their marketing and advertising. So we've given you a small glimpse of what virtual reality currently looks like in other industries. Anu will tell you about how virtual reality will benefit our customers.
So you might think that going to a virtual store is very different from going to a physical store. In fact, it's not, but you will have an improved shopping experience with benefits. So let's see. In a virtual store, you can also walk the aisles. You can pick up the items and look at the items. You can see the prices and promotions. But you're not going to have other customers or checkout lines or these heavy baskets to carry. And in addition, as we saw in the video, you can have a personal shopper with you at all times for any question. So this experience is more convenient and it's faster. It's not wrong to say that a customer in a virtual store really is the king. They can choose their store layout, the size of the store, or the departments and the items that they only want to see. You remember, Jacob doesn't like fish, but Alex loves fish. So Jacob can choose not to see the fish department, while Alex will definitely want to see the fish department. That does not mean that they cannot shop in the same store. Of course they can. They can even choose to shop together while still talking to each other and being in their respective homes. Now, when we are saying that you can only choose to shop in a certain department, some of us might think that, it's going to make us lose these highly profitable impulse buys. In fact, it won't. The virtual store will help us to better target these impulse buys based on the loyalty data. For example, I'm picking up a tomato, and the system will recognize that in the past I purchased a tomato along with mozzarella cheese and will offer me this selection also this time. But what else? Nowadays, customers want in-depth product information and transparency. Virtual store can, of course, offer that as well. You can have, in fact, any information you want on each item. You can see the nutritional information with health tips, health benefits. You can also see the story behind each item. You can see the supply chain and the raw materials that went into the item. You can also see other customers' likes and comments, and you can leave likes and comments as well. The options are pretty limitless. And if you have a recipe in mind, you can have the ingredients necessary to make that recipe put in your basket within a second. And if you don't have a recipe in mind, meal ideas can be suggested to you. Now, I have shown several benefits to the customer. Inshira is going to show the benefits to the retailer.
Every day, retailers seek to have a grand opening ready store, a store that's full, well merchandised, and has everything your customers want and more, without the hassle of tight labor budgets, late trucks, and even later associates. With virtual reality, you will now be able to have a grand opening ready store at the touch of a button. But a beautiful store isn't the only benefit that you have. For the first time, you'll be able to track your customer's eye movement while they're in the store with eye tracking technology. And you'll be able to use heat mapping to see how long a customer's walked in your aisles, how long they stood in front of a shelf, how long they've held onto a product before putting it in their cart or placing it back on the shelf for another option. But this technology can help you on the back side of your business as well. You can go into virtual technology and be able to see a schematic, build a planogram, or even set a store for a holiday walk without leaving your office. You can also use it for interactive training, as well as district meetings without the overhead and travel expenses that you currently have now. The technology is also going to help us build better relationship with our manufacturing partners. There's an old saying in marketing that 50% of your budget is wasted. Marketers just don't know which 50% is actually being wasted. Now, Manufacturers will be able to target customers while they're in the store, giving them in-store promotions and coupons that they know that they will use, while instantaneously offering them other products that they may be interested in, therefore increasing the impulse buys that Anu spoke about. But what about your customers? Customers love sponsored content. Imagine you have a customer who loves Rachel Ray's cooking shows. You can build a virtual experience while they're shopping where Rachel Ray is cooking right there while they're shopping. And if they're interested in the meal, all they have to do is click a button and everything is in their cart, along with the recipe. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a different process that manufacturers are going to have to think about, because you may not have your product on 1,000 different shelves across the city, but your product may be in 500 different homes of your most loyal customers. Now, if you're anything like me, you're interested in this technology and you want to know when and how you can get it. And Alex is going to tell you a little bit more about the implementation plan.
Wow, this is pretty exciting, right? So I'm sure now all of you in this room want to see how we can make this happen. Well, let's take a look at our implementation timeline. If you do as we suggest and want to have a virtual reality store in 2019, you should further research the market and gain consumer insights starting this year. We then recommend contracting an app developer in the beginning of 2018 and developing some beta concepts for initial screening. Those beta concepts should then be evaluated using focus groups, primarily within our employees. The next step would be the selection of the winning concept, which will then move into production. If you follow our timeline, you can test roll out your virtual reality store to your most loyal consumers in Q1 2019, then make some final modifications based on their feedback, and be all set for a grand rollout in Q3 2019. Overall, we expect a massive adoption of virtual reality technology from our retailers. So we would like to explore an early mover advantage in this market and establish ourselves as the go-to destination for virtual reality shopping in the minds of our consumers. But in order to maintain an early mover advantage, we have to get this right the first time. Therefore, extensive marketing research and promotion of the virtual reality store will be essential, together with a grand rollout that will create buzz and news generation. Store associates will also be a key component of our marketing efforts, as they will be involved throughout the process, from providing feedback and direction during the app development all the way to becoming our virtual reality ambassadors in our stores. Current stores will host virtual reality showrooms where store associates will encourage consumers to test the product, will showcase it, and will reward them upon the completion of the first purchases. Now, as far as the integration of the virtual reality store with our current brick-and-mortar stores, we don't see any major changes. In the long run, we might see some stores moving their focus into fresh items, as more and more of the center store items will be sold online. We might also see some stores converting to DCs to help with the home delivery of our virtual reality store. Finally, an efficient and reliable home delivery system will be critical for the success of the virtual reality store, as it happens with all online stores. But the virtual reality store is also a great marketing and advertising platform that both retailers and manufacturers can capitalize on. That being said, we recommend that the virtual reality store should have its own separate trade bucket and will add incremental revenue streams to our retailers. Those revenue streams will come from product placement fees, sponsor content, like Sharon mentioned, and of course, promotions that are targeted to specific customer groups. Moreover, retailers can adopt dynamic pricing models that will adjust the price a consumer gets based on their loyalty, their purchase history, or even their purchase quantity. And now that we've shown you how amazing this concept is, Jason is going to show you how this can help your bottom line.
Over the next 5 years, brick-and-mortar stores are expected to maintain growth rates of 0.8%. This is very positive for brick-and-mortar, especially if we're able to pair this with the predicted growth rates in online retail of 8.7%. We predict that within 5 years, virtual reality retail will build to account for 15% of all online sales. This equates to $2.8 billion in sales and $90 million in direct profits for our industry. Let's have a look at the initial investment required. Looking at the 5-year cash flow, estimating our business serves 6% of the virtual reality market, we can see the initial outgoing capital expenditure of $2.5 million. After working closely with virtual reality specialists, we have concluded that the price for developing this technology will be around $1.5 million, with a further $1 million required for marketing campaigns and the initial launch. We can see the break-even period for this project occurring in the first quarter of the 3rd year, with profits growing strongly after this point. With the growing rates in adoption, paired with the growth in online retail of 8.7, this profitability trend is expected to continue rising strongly into the next decade. Now let's have a look at the return on this investment. As stated, we can see the initial investment of $2.5 million. Now this is a one-off investment which will cover all stores within your banner. We can also see the projected share of our market, capsulating 6% of the virtual reality market. Now this is relatively conservative, and we predict that a first mover would in fact gain a far larger proportion of this market, especially within the first few years. This is also conservative, as it does not yet include the incremental revenues earned through sponsored content or trade budgets. This will generate $417 million in sales for your business, and 10.8 going directly to your bottom line. All in all, virtual reality will generate a return on investment of 332%. This financial analysis has proven virtual reality is not an or, it's an and. It is no longer brick versus click. It is now brick and click. As Jacob has mentioned, we're already seeing the changes in consumer habits, the shift in the sale of centre-store goods, the greater need for convenience, and the desire for a personalised shopping experience. While we cannot say exactly what this technology will look like once implemented, what we can say is that some version of this will become a reality within the very near future. As a retailer, it is your responsibility to enter this market to remain relevant amongst the ever-changing marketplace. Over the coming weeks, explore your web. Maintain an open mind about virtual reality. Take some time to ponder the revolutionary effects that this technology can have on our industry. And when it arrives, because it will arrive, look back knowing that you have contributed to the greatest grocery-specific change in the past decade. We would now like to open the floor for any questions. Thank you.
You kind of alluded to fresh produce, but I was just curious to hear, how do you see that factored into this whole situation? Because I know a lot of folks like myself, like to look at apples to see which one is the ripest and even taste maybe a grape to see if it really is as ripe as the produce person suggests.
So regarding the fresh produce, what we were discussing that previously, and what we see is that, for example, in a virtual store, you can go and really pick up a banana, for example, that is browner, the color-wise, and this banana will be delivered to you. So you can actually make a selection, and the store people who are going to put your bag together, they will put the same color banana, for example, in your basket.
Great job. 2 questions. One, the marketing budget of $1 million in that first year. What's the anticipated marketing budget for an early adopter going forward? Question 1. Question 2, how do you factor in the at-home delivery, which has really been a challenge for the industry in terms of cost, and how does that factor into your ROI equation?
Sure. So for part 1, it depends on how extensive you would like to enter the marketing campaign. With our market, we predict that we want to go full on and have VR sort of setups at each store where customers control this new technology, and full on print and media, radio campaigns as well. So that's with that. If you wanted to enter later, I would predict the same $1 million would help you gain a solid market share. But yeah, it's depending on how extensive you would like to push your marketing efforts. Alex, do you want to answer the question 2 with the implementation?
Yeah, so, and I don't want to spoil that, but you're going to hear a great presentation in a little bit about the last mile. We totally understand that this is a problem. This is outside the scope. We understand that this is critical for the success of the virtual reality store. If you sit tight, you're going to hear a great presentation about the last mile.
Great job. That was a nice presentation of some interesting technology. But what I'm interested in is, what about when you figure the profitability? Did you look at the cost of the labor to select those items and then additionally the delivery after that?
So looking at the labor for the development side of it, it wasn't so much new labor, it was just being reallocated from different parts of the organization, from internet online spends to working within virtual reality. So that was the labor side of it. And the second part of your question, sorry?
Well, besides the labor of selecting it, then also the delivery issue, which you kind of mentioned.
Right.
I thought you said that this would bring additional volume to the store, not take away the volume. So the labor you have in store is probably already being utilized to the maximum extent. I'm just wondering how you want to have enough people to also select all these orders for additional volume.
So the reallocation of labor to picking, yeah, definitely picking and creating new jobs through picking the stock, delivering the stock, whether we want to take that as a retailer upon us to deliver the stock or whether we look to an Instacart or an Uber supplier to create that last mile. But yeah, there may be an in-house shift in labor force, definitely.
What would the cost be for the typical consumer to set up the type of virtual reality setup at home that they would need to interact with the store? And what are adoption rates like in different parts of, say, the United States or even California? Or would there be better markets to start?
So as far as the cost to set up, right now it is fairly expensive because it's a brand new technology. But the way that we kind of equate it is when you look at like a LCD TV 10 years ago. It was very expensive. Now they've gotten to a point where they're extremely manageable. And that's where virtual reality is going right now. So it's implementing with cell phones and all that sort of thing where people are going to just have it as an everyday thing. And I'm sorry, the second part of your question was? Right, so part of our implementation would definitely be in the more tech-savvy areas. We think like an LA, a San Diego, or a Seattle, a San Francisco. But overall, like I said, it's going with cell phones, so the adoption it just takes off massively over the next 5 years.